Yeah.
Or on Zoom. Okay, great. All right, so let's call our meeting to order. The September 21st meeting of the Town of Rochester ZBA. We're calling the order at 6:27. Thanks everyone for bearing with our delay. We have to have a quorum to start, and we had 2 people out, and we only are a 5-member board, and we don't currently have an alternate. So thanks everyone for bearing with us, and we can just make sure to put in the minutes that we started late because of we need to wait for a quorum. So anyway, thank you all for being here. And so we'll start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll do the roll call.
Chair Tim Zarowski,
Here.
member Harley Davis, member Clayton Hagan,
Here.
member Ken Stevens,
Absent.
member Charlie Fisher.
Absent. Okay. So first thing on our agenda is the Quendemones. Did I say that right that time? Great. So you guys can come up if you want. We have a public hearing scheduled for tonight. Before we do the public hearing, we do have to go through our Part 2 short form environmental assessment form before we actually open the hearing. And what do we have to do it first? We have to type this for secret. So let's do that first. So I move that we pick this as an unlisted, uncoordinated action. I believe that's supposed to be a roll call vote. So will you do a roll call on that?
Member Stan Zarowski. Oh,
Yeah.
Chair Stan Zarowski, member Harley Davis, member Clayton Hagan.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And well, I guess we did some correspondence between our last meeting and now we had primarily just wanted to clarify some of the distances from the property line because we had just some conflicting information. Seems like we now have that all fairly well clarified. It was a little bit more distance than we originally thought, but not as much as we had sort of optimistically hoped might be the case. So it seemed like where you all ended up was that you're still asking for a variance. It's not quite as much as it was initially.
Got a couple feet.
Yeah, so a couple feet. So do you guys just want to talk about where you're at now in terms of what variance you're hoping to get, and then we can finish up doing the.
So, yeah, as you had pointed out, our scale drawing was, wonky, and so we worked from the surveyor's mark where the boundary was and got a tape and just ran it. And what we would prefer is the 10. I'm not sure how to word it. Instead of 40 foot, would have a 30-foot space between us and so a 10-foot variance. Last time I had it backwards, I think.
So right, so the setback in the code is 40 feet from the side property line, and you're hoping to end up with the rear of the building being 30 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was, we did get a couple feet out of taking a tape measure out. I did send some photos and a video just showing that the point we were measuring from was actually the stake that the surveyor put in past him, knowing when we're going to be doing this. So we can take that one to the bank, I think, I hope. And some pictures of the line. And then the only other thing we sent was the view from the back of the garage, which is, 8-foot berm and a bunch of trees.
Yeah.
And we are sensitive to any neighbor having, a negative effect by us being 10 feet closer, but we can't even see the pond from our house because the berm and the trees are so high. So no one can see us either. So that was the last piece we wanted to note, that we didn't feel like we were infringing on the sidelines, things that they would eventually do there because the pond is on the other side.
Okay, the one question that I had was when you all are talking about the turnaround space that you want to have, but I understand that you want to have adequate space for maneuvering your vehicles safely, get in and out of the garage. But I wasn't entirely clear on where you were measuring. Like when you talk about the different turnaround spaces, are you including the width of the existing driveway in that? You're saying up to the edge of the driveway.
Yes.
So when you say you want, or that you're hoping to have 20 feet, that's from the edge of the driveway that's closer to the garage. You want 20 feet from the front of the garage to the nearest edge of the driveway. And then how wide is the drive? Like, I guess the question is, why not include the width of the existing driveway as part of the turnaround space?
Well, the driveway is really narrow for one,
Mm-hmm.
about the size of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So, to avoid really tight corners, you just need some flexibility and space there.
And it's right up next to the steps going into the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to make a mistake there.
Do you know how wide the existing driveway is?
When our big blue van is sitting on it, there's not much on either side,
So it's probably like 10 feet wide.
whatever,
Yeah.
however wide a Chrysler van is.
Yeah, like a standard parking space is usually 10 feet wide. So if your driveway is probably 10 feet, you probably have about a foot on either side. So the van's probably about 8 feet wide at the most. Okay. Great. Clayton, do you have anything you wanted to ask Harley? Okay. And the reason why I'm asking a bit more about the driveway is one of the responsibilities we have under New York State law is to try to find the smallest variance possible. So where we're balancing the existing code with the needs that you guys have, and clearly turning around safely is an important need. And so we have to think about, well, how much do you really need there? And so anyway, that's why I'm asking, just for context. Okay, so let's go through this part 2 speaker. Thanks. Do y'all want copies, or are you comfortable with me just reading this off? Harley, you want a copy? So you can follow along. Okay. So what this is we just have to go through and answer these questions under New York State law whenever we're doing anything that results in permits or decisions. So, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? So our choices are no or small impact, and the other choice is moderate to large impact. To me, this seems like a small impact. Okay.
Yeah.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? So I again think it's a small impact.
Small impact.
And they're building a garage, which doesn't already exist, so that is an impact, but it's a normal residential use. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? I feel like no.
That's no.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No, because there isn't one. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level or of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for transit, biking, or walking? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? I'm going to say no. Will the action have an impact on existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities? double no on that one. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? That no on that one. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, for example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? I feel like that's a small impact only because you all flagged it as one of the things you're trying to not
Mhm.
increase, but there's a potential that it will have some impact, but small. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. Okay, great. So we didn't have any large impact, so I think the board can do a roll call vote to just say that I'm a little concerned. Okay, so we have to vote. Okay, so we're going to check this box that we have determined based on the information analysis and any supporting documentation that the proposed action. The wording of this is so confusing. Okay, will not result in any significant adverse impact. So I'm going to move that we say that this will not have any significant adverse impact. Someone second us. All right, Harley seconds, and we need to do a roll call.
Chair Zarowski,
Aye.
Member Davis.
Aye.
Member Haugen.
Aye.
Okay, so vote carries. I'm just gonna finish filling out this paper. Put it in our file. Okay. Great. So now we can go ahead and open the public hearing. I think we just opened it. So does anyone have any? Do we do need a motion? I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing. Everyone in favor? Yes. Okay. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone who would like to comment or have us hear anything relating to this application? We have an applicant and one person here. Are you here to comment on this?
I have a
Not
zoning application.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, well, then we're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing.
Hey, better than that.
Sure, I'll make a motion now to close the public hearing. Everyone in favor? Yes. Okay, public hearing is closed. So what do you guys want to do? We can try to go through and make a decision. We can kick till the next meeting so that there's more people here. I'm comfortable with either of those.
I would like to consider the other two members' opinions in this.
Okay. How do you, I mean,
Is it
feel like
pressing?
for you guys,
We can't build until next spring anyway, so,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
we-
Yeah, I mean, let's be looking at this in the next few months.
No, the next thing we would do is just finalize plans because we can come back through the
Okay.
permit process.
yeah, because if it was gonna delay you, you'd be a little more inclined to.
Oh, it's gonna delay that. No, we're not.
Okay. All right, great. So we're just gonna let this sit and you'll be on our agenda for next month. We'll be able to make a decision then pending anything unforeseen.
The
So,
timestamp starts now.
Yeah, we have 60 days now. to make-
as you know, we have 2 homes
Yeah.
and pheasant hunting and deer season
Uh-huh.
is in the next round. Could we be in a position where if there are any outstanding questions from the other, we could provide that in writing, because coming back just for that would be.
Sure, yeah, and you don't need to be here.
Okay,
I don't, I
we
think,
just want to answer any questions. But I think we kind of said
yeah,
here.
Pretty straightforward.
I don't feel like there's any major outstanding questions. I think the board might, for me, the thing that I'm gonna want to discuss with the board is just how much
Right.
of a variance is really
We do
needed, because, yes. Yeah,
Nice and small.
but I think we have all the information. I
Answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You can list a lot.
think the only thing that might be helpful is if you actually just measured how wide that driveway is and told us the, you know,
We'll email it tomorrow.
yeah, just so we have that. That's the only question that I hadn't asked yet that feels like it might be relevant.
You originally said a 24 by 24 garage. You still don't. do that,
Yes.
right?
But that's it. I think we're good. And we'll probably not see you in a month, but you'll be on the agenda in a month. You don't have to be
Yeah.
here.
It's
We live in a good part of the state for that.
very.
I mean.
All right, thank you, folks. Have a good day. And so I just wanna, we only have one other thing on the agenda and it's these folks. So I just, what's your application for?
For 18 inches of variance for a deck on a new building.
Oh, that one was not on, why was that not on the agenda? On the, okay, well, let's deal with them and then we can chat with you. So you guys want to come up? How are you all doing today?
I'm good.
All right, great. So we also have a public hearing scheduled for you all. So we also just need to do our speaker designation and in the same form again before we do that.
This is a type collection.
Is it a type 2? Why is it? Is it, okay, well, you say so.
I'll give you the.
I always tell Mary Lou show them come here, but then it turns out.
Let's see. I just looked it up. It's item 12 under, I don't know, whatever section, but it says construction, expansion, or replacement of a minor accessory, a permanent residential structure, including garage, carport, patio, deck, swimming pool, tennis court, satellite dish, fence, barn, storage shed, or other building not changing land use or density.
But is that,
That is,
so even though we're not giving you the permit for that?
that's item 12
Yeah.
under. So I'm going backwards on the
Yeah.
code. So it's item 12 under section C.
So the other one should have been type 2 also.
No. It's under the New York Secret Code. It's section 617.5.
But you're saying it's type 2, so we don't even have to do this.
Yeah, it's an unlisted action that you don't need the environmental does not review requirement. There's a whole lot of little things that
Yeah, right, you don't have to
people
do it.
overlook. They just, it's unlisted. Look at
Okay.
the-
It is a listed, it is right, it's listed as a type 2.
It's listed as a type. two
Okay,
offense
so
for
let's-
residents.
All right, so let's,
If you gotta be safe, we can do it. If, doesn't matter, if you don't have.
I feel like I'm willing to
Well, we
believe.
would only be the only ones who were hurt. If you did it wrong, because somebody could challenge it and overturn it.
yeah.
But I feel quite confident it's a type 2 action.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, from the simple fact that if something adverse happens to someone else as a result of it, whether it be placement of a fence in somebody else's property, inside the encroachment of the right of way, then you could actually fall back on the board for assigning it.
Hold on, let's look, what list of, what's the code that you're describing?
It's 617.5, it's a CEQA regulation,
Due diligence.
State Environmental Quality Review Act.
617.5,
617.5.
Right.
And it lists.
type 2
title,
actions,
type 2
list
action.
of type 2 actions, okay.
And if you go
And
down,
you're saying number 12,
move down to 12.
construction, expansion, or replacement of minor residential structures, including garage, carport, patios, decks, fences, okay, and when it's a type 2, the following actions are not subject to review. Great,
I think it's
So-
pretty clear.
yeah, I think so too. Thanks for pointing that out. Well, I'll move that we type it as type 2 because it is listed on 617.5 type 2 actions. Subsection C, the following actions not subject to review. Bullet point 12, where it lists fence. Do I have a second on that? And do we have to roll call that? I don't know. I'm in favor.
Sure.
Harley, all right. Motion carries. Type 2, we don't have to do part 2 short, yeah. Okay, so we'll open. Do you guys have anything you want to add before we open?
No, just like to get the the fence in before winter.
Yeah.
We stopped ordering.
Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and open the public hearing. So move to open the public hearing. Do I have a second on that? Okay, all in favor? I'm in favor also. That carries. Anyone like to comment on this application?
I would like to see my granddaughter protected from the road.
Yes.
Somebody said something.
All right, well, that doesn't really count.
And the father's right here.
Motion carried.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, which I guess we'll make another motion just to be safe. I move that, Carly seconds. We're all in favor. Bang the gavel. Okay, so you guys sound like you are in more of a hurry. So.
Sure.
So you, looking at the plans you provided, you guys decided to go towards the house instead of.
Well, just to close that gap off.
Okay.
Because there's.
Originally, we were talking about going,
Look,
carrying it straight across.
no, there's a hedge road, see?
Yeah.
See, it's quite that, I mean, this doesn't really show it well.
Going past it.
Yeah, but so we're bringing the fence up basically to where from where the hedge row
Yep.
stops to where it starts again. So with this gap right here.
Yep.
And
So you're gonna bring it back.
we'll just time it so it closes off that yard area. And then over here, we're just gonna run it 10 feet off the road, which is what the highway department said is more than enough room for him. And if we, we could push it in more, but I don't see how anybody benefits from that. And they start losing more and more yard area. So, and I have other pictures here, but anyways.
Did you by chance get any type of letter from the highways?
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, you had one.
Yeah, I was assuming.
And he said there's ample clearance with a 6-foot fence for visibility.
He said 10 feet, which we're asking for 10 feet from the,
No, I,
he didn't mention that at all, but it's, it's a straight line, so it's not like.
well, the reason I ask is. Yes, there's stuff, I've looked at it and everything else. If you continue that fence all the way to where the driveway entrance is now, will that impede anything with regards to pulling out of that area?
Oh, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna run the fence down to the driveway. Right
You're
here.
not.
No, the driveway's here and the hedge road runs down.
So you're stopping it at this head.
Yeah, it's just gonna close this little gap here where the mailbox is, and we'll put a gate there.
I thought the idea was to
No,
pass this to.
no, because this is dense.
So
and
did
actually
I.
barrier.
Yeah, that's why I was aware of this drag here, but I thought you would continue this all the way down
No,
and then all the way
no,
down.
there's
here
just,
to
I
this
think it's
post.
40 feet here. Yeah, 40-foot section here. So we're asking for 40 feet to the north, I think it's 100 feet over here. Can't believe that one. No, it's 80 feet.
So I thought it was small. Had you considered, I'll ask this, with regards to utilizing some type of natural foliage behind the fence, something like would be the equivalent of this hedge being here, and then running a smaller, shorter fence within the code.
Well, we don't
Beyond that.
want to take that hedge road
No,
down.
I'm just using that as an example. Let's say we put a 4-foot, or you put a 4-foot fence here, which would still be protected of your daughter, your granddaughter. And then behind that, some type of natural foliage that would be able to reach that 6-foot height.
Well, that would take a couple of years. The toddler's a year and a half, and
Well,
I'm spring, she's gonna be running around crazy.
I understand that, but I mean, I'm talking about maybe something like an arborvitae, 6 foot.
So we're doing fence like this, so this is only 5 feet here.
So you haven't thought about that, maybe possibly looking at a 4-foot fence.
Well, we talked about it, and my daughter and I agree, is you really don't get the privacy. Cars go by, like trucks go by, and you still look right into the yard. So they really want to get some privacy out of that too.
Okay, because when it was first
You
stated,
know,
it was more over a concern.
Yeah, we picked a really nice looking fence.
Oh, no,
It's not
no
gonna
doubt.
be white, it's gonna be the, what's the color? It's like a tan, like a beige.
But the primary concern, I believe, was for protection of your rent
Yes.
and making sure, I mean,
Yeah.
that, she couldn't run out. Now, it does run very close
Yeah.
to where that house is.
Yeah.
Well, and the
and-
4 feet, the safety of the 4 to 6 is part of the concern too, because 4 is actually, I have a 9-year-old daughter too, like 4 is not
topical for her.
Okay.
It's,
so that-
it's climbable after this.
I didn't realize.
I just wanted to run.
Yeah.
Yeah, the toddler's
Able to, one down a couple of weeks, fly over top of the fence. Okay, so that kind of does take that off the table. Now, you said you're putting a gate on this end.
Yeah, just so we can get into the yard with
Okay.
a truck or something we need to.
Now, with that being said, will that gate cause a problem if you're pulling out of there? Because once you pull to that gate, it's 6-foot fence on each side.
Yeah,
And with its relative proximity
Right.
to the road.
well, you still got your 10 feet, so, you pull your car up to the edge, even if you pulled it up to the edge of the white line, you're still looking at it at a nice broad angle, like 10 feet. But what's good, that's hardly ever gonna be used. And maybe, we used it once, we had some bluestone growing back here. So, we went out and guided the truck, because he backed in, and that's the only time it would be used for something like that.
I just.
And maybe since the septic tank,
That's,
it's not gonna be used on any kind of a regular basis.
I know how people travel up and down that road.
Yeah,
They've been there my whole life.
Yeah, it comes
And
flying off of Hamptonville Road. And they don't slow down till they get to the hill, right? Which is my driveway is over that hill. And when I pull out, I listen because they come flying over that hill.
Well, in this, I mean, we pull out of the driveway all the time. The hedgerow is actually close.
Yeah, and that's why I thought this, that's why I originally said I thought this fence was continuing all the way down here to provide privacy for the parking area as well.
More questions?
That's really about it. That was my big concern.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable trying to get us a decision today, especially because the applicant's trying to get
Yeah,
this project done before the winter. It's not a factor in our decision making, but I think in expediting. Also, this has been a very complete pack, so appreciate that helps it go
definitely helped us.
faster.
Yeah.
Like, I do the professional.
That's true. Okay, so if the board's okay, let's start by just using our standard template. I did not fill this out at all ahead. Because frankly, I wasn't even sure if we could put a quorum for a minute there. So, you know this, Barry, but we have to try to find the minimum variance, balance everyone's needs. So our findings. So we have these 5 questions dictated by state law. So whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of an area variance in this situation.
I don't see that happening for 2 reasons. It's just not, and nobody came here to say that it didn't matter.
You agree? I also agree 100%. Great. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance.
Go to the town board and change the law.
They actually are,
The comprehensive plan, that's it, but that's not an option.
yeah,
Based on
actually,
the comprehensive plan that we have in front of us, this is what we have.
they are, I think, about to actually get rid of the 4-foot fence rule. So that is actually,
You think so before the end of the year or?
No.
I don't think they're gonna, I don't know. But I know that that's that's one of the changes.
That's something good.
I
I hope they change the size of the parking lots to go 10 by 20. That's like 1960 standard.
don't know if that's in there. Okay, so we agree, no, there's not another feasible alternative. So for the findings on this one, we're saying the benefit sought is both safety for children and privacy for the residents.
And I would add, due to the location's close proximity to Plato Road.
Yeah,
As a barrier.
existing. Given the proximity. Okay, so I'm saying the benefits sought is both safety for children and privacy for the residents, given the proximity of the existing structure to Clay Hill Road. No feasible alternative to a fence was able to be identified by either the board or the applicant.
I would also add in there, children, due to it being a residential home.
Of the existing residential structure. Sure. Okay. Okay, whether the requested area variance is substantial. So in this case, the required setback is supposed to be 25 feet from the edge of the right of way. Or no, it's, what is it? It's 10 feet from the edge of the right of way. Yeah, right.
And then 15 feet from the center of the road, so. That's
Yeah, so what it should be is 35 feet from the road.
I thought it was 15 from the center of the road to the start of the setback.
No, it's
25 from the center.
25, but it's, the right of way is considered 50 feet. I think it says that right in your code.
Yeah, it does.
Assume 60 feet, and so that'd be 25 from center, and then another 10. We put it in the middle of the house.
35.
Right, so it is a significant variance because where you would, it's putting you in the actual right of way for the road, the fence here in this case. It's inside the assumed right of way.
Well, yeah, technically, there's no formal granting of
Right.
right of way, but the town has the right to take up to
Yeah,
50 feet.
right.
Under state law, they can just say, we're taking it.
Yeah, so you're 10 feet from the edge of the road.
50 feet total,
Okay, yeah, okay.
50 foot wide.
From the center of
It all depends on previous municipalities and like, just working through the highway department, county. Most of the roads, they do not have a 50-foot right.
Yeah, they don't have one.
No, what I'm saying,
They can't even attempt to take 50-foot.
What Barry's just saying,
I've dealt with road relocations
Yeah.
in several places.
he's just saying that
Based on.
if we don't know what the right of way is, in this case, maybe there isn't even one ever
There
granted.
very well could, well, there's always a right of way.
But for
no
the
matter what.
setback, where we count it is,
So
we assume 50 feet, so 25 on either side of the center line, and that's where we start counting the setback. So in this case, that would be 35 feet center of the road. But what you guys want to do is 10 feet from the edge of the road,
Right.
which is, 20
it's about 20
feet
feet
from the center of the road.
instead of 35.
So it's like, yeah. So I would, for me, that shakes out to it's substantial, like it is
that's what I was wondering, where the fence was actually going to be located within that.
I mean, it's like more than, if you do it as a percentage,
Right. Well, what's the question again? Let's actually read.
it says whether the requested area variance is substantial.
Substantial what?
Well, they don't define it.
They don't give
So-
you the definition.
And in the State Department guides, they say you can kind of define it however you want based on the situation. So for me, like sometimes we talk about percentages. In this instance, that doesn't feel super relevant to me. Because it's like great, it's like, what does it even mean in this situation?
It doesn't, the
Yeah.
percentage increases so fast by 1 foot that it can't really be used as a lead for measurement.
Yeah, and for me,
Has to do with where it's located in relation to that setback that's required by the town, which would be the 25. Where is it there?
yeah, I mean, it's
So that,
before where the town would even start counting the setback from in this instance.
that's my point.
So it's like I think it is substantial
That
when
makes
you
it
measure it.
Yes,
The counter thing, and I want to check the substantial box myself, which isn't governing over everything else. But, I would also say, but you've got a historic structure that exists very close to the house, street, you've got a small lot,
which would be weighed if we were dealing with just that structure. Now we're adding accessories to that, which weigh differently than the structure itself.
yeah, I mean, I feel like it is substantial. For me, that's just one of the factors. Like, I feel like it probably it's in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. It feels to me like the setbacks aren't super relevant when the house itself is entirely within the setback almost that's defined by the town.
Well, it's simply the right of way.
Right, yeah, the house is inside the right of way. And then you've also got stuff that's allowed, like our code has a section talking about being able to use pre-existing non-conforming stuff. Basically kind of says like, you don't want to make a property unusable because of pre-existing problems. So I look at this property and to me, it reads like a perfect example of that, because it's like, you've got a small lot, which is, I think this is a non-conforming lot just by area, right? You've got a house that's non-conforming based on the setback, and they're just trying to use it as a house. And a normal use of that to me is
And
having
I'll
a
tell
fence
you,
around it.
Arcos, buying it, had 3 families in.
Yeah. So I feel like saying, yes, it's substantial. I'm finding like, yeah, like it is. Yeah. Okay, so we'll say yes. So the finding is the area variance is substantial.
They've moved their roads over the years,
Oh, yeah,
so there's places where the white line is the end of the right of way.
yeah.
And then they got, 100 foot that way overall. It's,
Yeah, when they're mapped, yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of town roads and county roads that there is no right of way, and then there's
Yeah.
massive.
I would say most of them don't have a defined right of way.
Most of them don't. Town roads especially, county roads, like 3/4 of the county roads do, and most of the time, it's not even what people realize. It's either way shorter or way bigger. Just we move roads.
Road I'm on, you can't pass vehicles on it.
Yeah.
And that's a town road. With a 35-mile-an-hour zone.
I think under state law, they can consider it a 2-way road all the way to 16 feet wide.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
there's
that's
parts,
pretty crazy.
there's parts that are. Yeah,
That's a one.
You can get 13 feet through there because we measured it out for a home being put in there, and it barely made it.
Work roads. Something to deal with.
Especially in an older area where everybody built on the road.
There's guys ever been up Trails End?
Oh, no.
Just.
It's prime example.
Sundown Road, that's not. There's so many of them. That's a road.
Or Williger Trail.
Okay, so here's what I wrote. I haven't proofread this yet. The area variance is found to be substantial because the proposed location of the fence is within the prescribed assumed right of way in the town. However, the fence is in keeping with the location of the existing residential structure, which is on a non-conforming lot and which also sits partially within the assumed right of way, and the majority of which is within the prescribed front yard setback. Okay, so that might be a little clunky, but it's fine. Okay. Question 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood or district. All knows on that?
I would say no. Once again, you hear the same thing.
I agree. All right, 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the board, but not necessarily the granting the area venture build a house.
It's not self. It's not self. They didn't build a fence down yet.
Yeah, I also say like it's in keeping with the residential use. It's residential, it's an existing residential. And it's an existing non-conforming lot.
I said about getting permission for forgiveness.
Okay, so the construction of the fence. Keeping normal. I'm just saying, finding the construction of a fence is in keeping with normal residential use and the existing lot does not offer any options other than a fence of this type in this location. Okay. So what do we want to determine? I mean, I look at these questions, I feel like we should go ahead and grant this variance as presented to us. Feel, for my part, like it's in keeping with the neighborhood character, all the things we said above. It's not gonna have any adverse impact on anyone else, and it's a very normal thing to want to do.
I would agree, under the condition that it not be modified in the future, not extended without permission or with a variance granted.
I can say the variance should be specific as to the living footage.
Yeah.
And it also means that the homeowners or the property owners are gonna be responsible for the property inside that fence in that right of way going forward.
Oh, yeah. If mowing is
They're mowing anything.
Okay, so some of this based on the information. To construct fence, which is located 10 feet from the edge of the pavement is where you measure them from. Road. Such fence will extend, what is that, your north? How would you describe the linear feet? That property line's closer to Sansville, is the north or west? Okay, so will extend from the northern boundary. Sure. Property, so it's 100 linear feet to the house.
I thought it was 80. It's 80. Yeah, starting at 80 feet. Would be to the one.
Oh, I don't even know. It's
close to the road.
It would be to the western
That's
side of the house.
Yeah, I feel like it's.
And then from the eastern side of the home,
Here's the cross.
extending
It's probably
40.
Yeah, we got 40.
40, yeah, 40 and a
Okay, so
half.
southern, northern and southern.
Well,
No, it's 40 feet.
we've got north and south this way.
Yeah, so you want to
So
say
yeah,
north,
we
you
say
want to
north
north
and the southern side.
and then
80 feet, not that end.
And then we got 40 and a half.
No, it's just 40. It's a 6-foot fence.
Oh,
Yeah, fine print.
40 when it gets real bad. You're like 40 feet.
and then extend an additional 40 feet from the southern edge of the till it meets the hedgerow.
Pre-existing hedgerow.
Okay, so I just wrote, just hereby determined by the town of Rochester Board of Appeals, the request for an area variance is granted based on the information, based on the information presented by the applicant, the board grants a variance to construct a fence which is located 10 feet from the edge of the pavement on Clay Hill Road. Such fence will extend from the northern boundary of the property until it meets the northern edge of the house for a length of 80 feet, and then extend an additional 40 feet from the southern edge of the house till it meets the pre-existing hedgerow.
Beautiful.
Great. Anyone have any comments on that from the board? No. Okay, so I move that we grant this variance. With all the things we just read, so with the answers to those 5 questions and then that little text. I have a second.
No, you go for it, man. It's all yours.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay, that passes. You've got your variance, we'll have this. We'll have to finish filling in the documents reviewed and all that, but should be able to have a signed copy for you on Monday.
It's gonna take us 4 to 6 weeks to get the thing.
Well, I guess you can order it now. Yeah, and we should have,
Lead time might be longer.
and we'll have a signed copy for you on, probably on Tuesday.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, because I will fill it in and then that's fine.
Well, you try by the.
Oh, it's all right.
Stop. It's not my job now. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
My job.
All right. So are you Mr. Sturgis? Okay, so why did we not have you on?
When did you submit the application?
You didn't fill out. No, people wrote in the email.
I think the problem was we didn't have a complete application in order to get on the agenda. Oh, you didn't pay the fee. There's no fee
I
paid.
paid fees in June.
For what? For a variance?
Well, I went to the, code
Mhm.
enforcement, I paid a fee. And then they, sent me a note and said to appeal to the zoning board. It said there's no fee for the zoning board until.
Yeah, there is a fee for us.
There is a
We didn't
fee.
receive the fee paid. I got
Right.
your application, but I didn't get the. fee.
Yeah, I was told that. I said, I'm supposed to be here today. And
I didn't.
Do you remember who we spoke to?
she was the secretary.
So it may be Alyssa or something.
Well, Alyssa was coding machine.
Yeah.
And there was another.
Well, Jasmine's the
It's
secretary of
Alyssa
this board.
In the office you originally started at.
Well, I think what we need to do.
Code
I've
is
never
just-
met.
Code was.
Well, we can do an off-book pre-app check, because that doesn't have to pay the fee. And then if there's some more things we need from you, we can let you know that now since you're here. And then we'll get the fee from you before the next meeting. Does that work for you? Does that work for you? So you guys didn't really
Yeah.
review this because it wasn't. on our-
I'm not familiar with this at all.
So yeah, you can come up. We'll do, this is in our file. So
Yeah,
this
but-
one, I looked at
It's
this
in
a
our
bunch. Yeah, no, I know it's in our file. I was saying to.
Yeah, I had.
So this one, Mr. Sturgis, I'm gonna have to get, just to be straightforward, I'm gonna have to get some clarification from our attorney on exactly how to handle this. What I understand is there was you previously, like maybe a couple years ago, came in front of the zoning board of appeals with a plan to construct a home on this property. You've subsequently done that. And then the plans between when the variance was granted and now were changed a little bit, not in any super major way. But it seems like the location of the deck has shifted from what was originally proposed, such that the original variance doesn't cover what you're trying to do now. Is that?
Well, we actually didn't have much of
Mhm.
that because of the way the variance and the versus setback.
Mhm.
They've done some interesting, a contractor, Kyle. But they did some good. We found what the house was actually sitting on dirt on top. So we ended up having a lot of stone to do landscaping. And it's now actually on bedrock. So it's and the earth is just right up around it. It's decent, looks actually pretty nice. But now I need to get a step down. I'd like to get a step down from the exit of the rear down to where the basement door is, which is over the box. And it would be, the request is for an additional 18 inches variance. So we have a deck with seating and stair like that.
So when I'm looking at it's hard to maybe talk about which map I'm looking at, but the maps I found a little confusing. And what I have to ask the attorney about is if we're talking about a new variance, how we need to frame that for ourselves, just so that everything's legal and correct. Because I don't know that we can like really grant a variance on top of a previous variance it probably just has to be a fresh variance that only covers this section. So what we're gonna need is what's existing on the site as of now.
Actually, what they did is they adjusted the house
Mhm.
to match the garage to parallel the garage,
Mhm.
and they ended up with that map. But I thought it was a little different.
Yeah, that's the one I've got.
Yeah, so the back of the house, the back of the building is actually on the corner of the variance. So it meets the existing variance.
Yeah, because that was the variance from the stream, the high water stream
No,
setback or
no, well,
something.
no, the variance from the high water streams is maintained. The corner of the porch, the house is rotated around the corner of the porch to change the aspect in terms of looking up at the stream.
Mhm.
But when the garage was put in, I suggested that I thought it would look nice if it paralleled the garage, so it faced the garage head on. Turns out that they rotated it back. And so if you look at where the variance, and we have stakes in the ground, if you look at where the 6.5-foot variance that was originally, it just hits the back corner of the house, closest to the road. So the
Yeah,
house is, basically it's back to the original. The house is at the original front corner of the porch and the back corner of the house are now back on the original variances that were granted.
right. So yeah, they granted an area variance for a side yard setback of 6.5
6.5.
feet. And then they denied the high water setback variance
No, they gave
of
you
19 feet, which was what was originally asked for, and then they gave you a 5-foot.
correct.
So everything that's currently built is in compliance with those variances, the side yard of 6.5 feet. But now with this new stairs that you want to put in,
Well, a little bit wider deck so I can have the stairs and
Right.
seating area.
so so basically instead of it being a 6.5-foot variance, you're going to incur on that side yard setback by another 1.5 feet. So it'll end up being an 8-foot side yard variance so that's all accurate. Okay.
That's correct.
So that's certainly something we can talk about when we have the full application. I went through the old packet. I think there's some things we're definitely gonna need. One is just some fresh maps that show, I think we need to just not, unless the attorney tells me otherwise, I think we need to kind of not worry too much about what the previous variance was, because that's already been built, it's already permitted, that's done with. So now basically you're saying I want to do this new deck with stairs, and that's going to require variance because of the side yard. It kind of doesn't matter what the old variance was, because that was specific to something else. And I think we're just going to need fresh maps on that. It'd be helpful to just see some pictures of what you're talking about, the existing conditions, like what it looks like on the side of the house where that's going to go. An explanation certainly of what you were talking about with the steps, you know, and why it wasn't maybe anticipated originally, but I also don't know if that's going to be super relevant. Again, I'll ask the attorney about that. And then just, you know, measurements from the property line to where everything's going to be. And then if you can superimpose what the setback is from code. So I think, I forget what the side yard setback is in that zone by code. It's R5, it's probably 50 feet. Yeah. So, and you want to end up like 42 feet. So on the map, if you can just superimpose what the 50-foot setback would look like, you know, we can see that everything that's already there was already permitted and built.
I would have a third line in there too. That
Yeah,
shows
what the
where
older,
variance
sure.
was.
And with the request.
Yes.
Yeah, that's helpful too. To have just both of those, yeah, what code says, what was already granted,
What you requested.
and then what you're requesting now, and then the explanation of like why that extra 1.5 feet is specifically needed, because certainly for me, that's the question. It's like, well, why do we need an additional 1.5 feet? Like, what's really the reason here? And it sounds like you have reasons, but we're gonna wanna just have that in writing from you,
Right.
have any pictures, and
It's an access.
Yeah.
Well, so, yeah.
it sounds like maybe there's like a safety issue in
It
terms
could
of
be.
the
I
width
mean,
of
it
the
will
stairs.
allows access from the back door not only towards the road, but towards the back of the property.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, so just think about like what those needs are and what they're based in, especially why it needs to be different than the 6.5 that was originally granted. So like what the value to you really is in that 1.5 feet, because that's what we have to.
Should we have some type of confirmation that the original variances were adhered to? Because we're gonna end up building on the existing variance.
I think Jerry did that.
Well, that's
Okay,
a,
there
yeah,
should
yeah.
be, there should
He
be
had-
something on
He had
file.
to
that
approve a
indicates-
foundation.
yes, actually, it would be helpful. I mean, this might be, we can probably get this from code enforcement ourselves, but if you have like your certificate of occupancy, any permits that
Not
you.
yet. That's the, I,
Okay.
I've been waiting to get my water.
But just all your, any permits that you already had for building and any documentation of inspections and stuff from Jerry, that's just helpful so that we know.
Bring in a banker's box, with all your paperwork, you know, I mean,
But just to see that everything you've done
Yeah.
had been, above board. It seems like it is, because I see that you went, you went and tried to get a permit for this deck and then it got flagged, which is telling us that you're doing all that, but having it, any documentation you have of that is just helpful for us. We've got the old area variance in our file already, so we don't need any copies of that.
I mean, that's the letter that went to Jerry.
Sure.
And then beyond that, I don't have an approval letter from him. We just use that to,
Sure, yeah.
for the code.
what kind of deck was built?
Just, what is that?
Pressure treated?
Yeah, pressure treated,
Okay.
standard,
Yeah.
Just for outdoor, little railing on it and that kind of.
Yeah, so pictures, of existing conditions, some pictures of what the type of deck, all that stuff's just helpful for us to
I
have.
got an answer to this.
If,
Let's say the deck is cantilevered 18 inches from where the sonotubes are located, does he still need a variance?
yeah,
Even though, because it impedes into that area, even though it's not.
Doesn't, it goes by right where edge of wood, edge of building materials. Doesn't go by where your ears are.
Yeah.
Because it'll cantilever every bit of 18 inches regardless.
Oh my God, you can't over it.
pretty far.
Well, I mean, if somebody could do that.
So I'll consult with Mary Lou. It sounds like the questions we have for her, just like to what extent we even need to think about this previous variance. Are we amending a previous variance? Like, those are the questions. I heard that from you, but
I don't think we're amending it.
I think it's a new.
It's gonna be new,
That's what I think.
especially if he already has verification that he fulfilled the requirements of the first variance.
And that's a question also for Mary Lou, is like, is that even in our purview, or it's just what Jerry's saying we need to do? Which I think it's just what Jerry says, and in this
Yeah.
case, he's
This
saying,
is the same.
yeah, he's just saying, what is his actual wording here?
Well, he said it's simply extended into the setback.
Yeah, it just needs, but what he says is, area variance is determined to apply in R5. Applicant proposes 12 by 26 deck, which encroaches on the 50-yard side yard setback. So all he's saying is you need a variance for the deck.
There's no way to do it 10 foot.
It's what I'm thinking of the way it is that I would do something that would angle. So part of it there'll be a
I got you. So when
Park towards the street.
here,
park towards the street would have a 4-foot wide step down, and that would be, I could do it now with that piece. It would be shorter. It would just, with the other one going down, to have a seating space plus a 4-foot wide step down at the edge of the house that faces the stream, the side of the house that faces, just follow that edge along. You would get, it would be nice to have like, I think it's 12 or 13 feet wide. It's gonna be on an angle. I mean, the deck is gonna be like, come out from the house, but go off like this, following the setback along. So it's a question of, it can be done. It can, I just have to push the deck further out to have a seating area that's outdoors, but I need the stairway down to An exit point. is
On the side closer to the.
On the side next to the, yeah, next to the stream, because you want them both. You want one towards the road, you want one towards the stream. It just, that's the desire. It's for the outline.
Yeah, so we'll just want to see, like I said, the maps that show the shape,
Yeah.
because here it just is a 12 by 26 rectangle on these pictures.
Right.
So we're gonna want to see what you're actually proposing, how that interacts with both the previously granted variance and with the setbacks required, which is what Jerry's saying, all code enforcement is telling us at this point is just that you need a variance for. So we'll just look at that.
Get your drawing.
Yeah, and I'll clarify with the attorney if there's any additional things that complicate it because there's already a variance filed for the property. But my suspicion is no.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think in terms of additional things we need to get you on the agenda for the next meeting for it to be productive, it's 200.
200.
Yeah, so you have to pay the fee, but then I think having those additional maps, we don't have those. We're just gonna have the same conversation we had today. So you'll want to get those to us by 5th
5th of October.
of October.
And, okay, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get, I have to get to my surveyor.
Well, no prejudice from us if it gets bumped to the November meeting, but that's just, if you're gonna be close to
Right.
that, if you're gonna be close to that, like in the same week, reach out to us.
Yeah,
We
if
can,
it's by like Friday.
we're able to be a little bit flexible, but we try to have deadlines so that we don't get things the day before.
You don't necessarily need like an actual surveyor's map either. You can draw it up. Just as
Yeah,
long as
You want
there's
me, I
boundaries.
mean, I can draw it up from the original, because that's, the building is
As long
now.
as it can be verified by somebody if they come out and verify that.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
met the setback.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, if you have a survey, if you have a survey that shows where the house that is now built sits on the
Yeah,
property,
that I have. I mean, that
and then
was-
and then you can project onto that
Make it
a scale drawing.
I've had a couple of site plans because you wanted to see.
Yeah,
how-
I saw that in the
how
file.
it would sit. And in the casting of the foundation,
You needed one that showed that, yeah.
we did that. Said, make a parallel, bang, it just ended up back where the original was.
Yeah, so if you draw onto that, like Harley said, make a copy and then put onto that the shape with the actual dimensions of the deck showing where the stairs you're talking about are gonna be. And then also just if it's not already on there, project to scale, where that 50-foot setback is, where the previous variance puts you, because it was 6.5 feet
6.5.
in, so 43.5. And then you're saying you need 42, so put that line also.
Yeah.
So we can see it all.
Okay, that's, I can draw that.
Yeah.
What's the height of the finished deck?
Well, from the ground level, back in the house, maybe 3 feet. But it then extends over the wall. See what they've done is
Okay.
we had boulders, so it ended up creating a wall that's this tall. So extended over the wall, it's the 3 feet plus. It could be as
5
much as
feet.
9 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so some pictures of all those site conditions are also helpful, because, I mean, if we want to come visit, I think we always have that right, but if we don't need to, because we have good pictures.
Yeah.
it's easier.
Okay. That kind of thing, but I know the stairway is gonna go down like 5 feet from the grade in the back of the house down to the grade.
Because that plays a part in the setback needed based on height.
Well, yeah, you told me, yeah, this is the, was 37 degree, okay. Okay, so we have that.
Nice, get some grass on.
No, I mean, the pitch is, no, this is over the stone wall. No, so that's the pitch of this, so you need a certain length of stairway to handle the height of about 5 feet.
All right, great.
Thank you.
So I think we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's okay.
All right, you guys got, minutes. I honestly could not have a chance to go over them super carefully because it's still very, you
Last
did?
week's minutes?
Yeah. We're gonna kick the can on the August.
Let's kick that down and move until next.
But I do have something I'd like to talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
The decision for Family Acres that, the building inspector sent back.
Oh, that letter? Yeah, so I can give an update on where that's at. So
Campgrounds.
Yeah, we had the non-flag,
we're,
no right of way lots in the middle of the
oh, the
big
campground.
lot. Yeah.
So the situation is we're trying to get more information still from code enforcement. It seems like there's things that are not entirely clear in terms of why this is still coming to us. So we don't have enough information at this point from code enforcement to do anything else. We're continuing to try to just clarify it. It seems like there's like just a knot that needs to get untangled. Yeah, they didn't send us everything they were supposed to send, so that's why we didn't put it on the agenda.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it seems like there's a knot that needs to get untangled. You know, my hunch is that if we can just kind of be a little bit patient, this can hopefully work itself
Why
out.
we didn't schedule a public
Right, yeah. Well, because we don't even know, you know, and I've spoken with our attorney, you know, just like, well, exactly. I'm still not clear on exactly what variance we could issue, given what everyone said. So we're still trying to get that untangled. The applicant's part of that. One of the applicants is out of town right now, so they were like fine to not come tonight. And then we're still trying to make sure we have the full picture from code enforcement. But yeah, it's not disappeared from our radar. It's just wending its way slowly too. All right, anyone else? How are we all doing on training credits? Okay, for the next meeting, let's just check, because if anyone does need, October still leaves us time for everyone to get up to date, but.
Internet one.
Yeah.
I have to talk to Mike about
When I.
how many hours you guys got for that last one,
We were there for 8 freaking hours.
because he said it was gonna be like 6 hours of training, you only need 4 for the year,
That was.
Then you're good.
so
Did
I have to confirm with him on
You guys
that.
did training with Mike?
No, that was a little training in Hyde Park.
Yeah,
Oh,
Ken and I did it.
It was that long.
It was.
Yeah, that should count as 8
It was
hours.
Like, it was all day. I mean,
Did
it might
you
have been
get
6.
anything from it though? Was there any good information?
There was, I mean, a lot of seeker.
Yeah, I don't mind that. As long as
Sequoia
I'm getting
stuff.
something.
All right, cool. Yeah, we just want to make sure, because if anyone does need it, it's much better to know in October than at our December meeting. If people got to do trainings over. That's this computer.
Oh.
This computer is actually that little box on the wall behind the TV, and then this is just the monitor. I just have the TV rigged up as a monitor.
Well,
You good?
yeah, I'm awesome.
All right, great. Motion to adjourn. Yeah, second, done. We don't even have to vote on that one. You end our meeting. Help put these things back, do they need to stay?